Hello everyone, this is the 29th of January, which we're going to do today, and I had a question this week from somebody who has been stitching with cotton pearl 5 and they're finding it difficult to pull it through the fabric. So I thought I'd just talk a little bit about thread first. I've got here as some examples. I've got these are both the threads that I sell in my shop. Different brands, incidentally, will vary very slightly. So my cotton pearl 5 might not be exactly the same as, for example, a DMC pearl 5 or a Valdani pearl 5, but broadly similar. In this case, the threads that I sell, the cotton pearl 5 is twice as thick as the cotton pearl 8. So I've got two there so that you can kind of get an idea of the difference. So the pearl 5 is like twice the width of the pearl 8. And how difficult it is to stitch depends very much on your fabric. So I've got some cotton pearl 5 threaded in a needle here, and of course with it being thicker you're going to need a bigger needle with a bigger eye, and I've got no idea what size that needle is. Buy an assorted pack and try them all and choose the one that fits. I've never have any idea what size needle I'm using. I'm a very, very bad embroiderer. So on, for example, this linen cotton blend that I'm using for my daily stitching, if I just take a few stitches in this border, you can see it is quite hard work. Although it does work. You know, you can stitch on it. But yes, it is kind of tough-ish to pull it through. If we try that, and it leaves your bigger needle and your thicker thread are going to leave holes in your cloth as well. And that's the reason I prefer to use finer threads on this scale. When you're stitching a very small area like this, I much prefer using thinner threads. So I rarely use anything thicker than cotton or silk pearl 8. However, if we try it on a different piece of fabric, this is a piece of linen tablecloth, which is much lighter, it's a much looser weave. And if we try stitching on that, you can see it's 10 times easier. So it depends very much on your fabric, on the weave of the fabric, on how well washed your fabric is, because with linen, the more you wash it, the softer it gets. So something like a tablecloth will have been washed many times in its life, and it becomes beautifully soft and really easy to stitch on. It still leaves holes, as you can see. You can kind of scratch them out. But that's partly the reason that I don't use thread that thick for daily stitching. However, that said, what we can do with it is couch with it. We can stitch it down, and that's what I'm going to do today. So I've brought this cotton pearl 5 thread up in somewhere in this square, rectangle, and what I'm going to use to stitch it down is a very fine silk thread. This is a commercial silk thread. Can't remember where I got it from. I've had it years and years and years, but you can see it's quite fine. It would equate to the fine silk that I've got in my shop, something like that. So I'm going to start that off on the back as well. So I've brought this thread up kind of next to the cotton thread, and I'm just going to stitch it down in a kind of, let's start with a kind of arch shape and see what happens. And again, I have no idea what I'm going to do. I haven't planned this. I hardly ever plan it. I just start and see where the thread wants to go. So the thread is wanting to curl back that way, if you can see, so I'm going to let it. And I'm going to carry on stitching that down, just with a little stitch over the top of it. Just turned it round so I can get at it easier. And I'm just following this shape round. I've left this thread is loose, it's still got the needle in it, just in case we want to take it down and come up somewhere else. I don't know if I'll do that or not. Let's see how we go. And again, it wants to curl back this way, so I'm going to let it. I should probably have started more in the middle, but doesn't matter. We'll just keep going and we'll see what happens. We might like it, we might not. So you can probably see what's happening here. It's just going up and down and round and round. So I'll probably just carry on with that until we get somewhere where we need to look at it again. Right, I've stitched myself into a bit of a corner here. So we've got a choice here. We could leave it as at that and do something else around here, or we could do what I'm going to do, which is take that down there and bring it back up again there, so that we can do another thing like that and make it look as if it's going off the page a bit. I think that's what I'm going to do. Let's just untangle these. So I'm just going to run this thread up to meet that one, and then we'll just keep going. Right, I'm just coming to the end-ish of both threads, so I'm going to take this thicker thread down through there to the other side, and then just finish stitching that down. And if you do your last stitch that goes actually through that, the thread you're couching, that will just help to anchor it more firmly. And then we can flip it over onto the other side and just stitch over that spare purl 5, and I'm burying it on the other side of the grid line, which is another advantage of couching the grid lines. You can bury all kinds of things on the other side. And then I'm just going to do a little being careful not to let it show on the front. Just wrap that round and that'll make a little knot, and then we can just snip those ends. Okay, so we've done this shape here, and I've now got some cotton pearl 8, which is half the thickness of the cotton pearl 5 we've just couched down, and I'm just doing some little straight stitches radiating out from the side of this, from the edge of this couched shape. It's looking a little bit like a labyrinth or something, isn't it? So I'm just going to do some straight stitches around the edge of this. Okay, I've come all the way around here. I've still got some thread left. You know what I'm going to say, don't you? I'm just going to keep going. We're going to do something along here. And I don't think I'm going to do more straight stitches because I don't think that would help. I think I'm going to do something a bit more horizontal there. Trying to weigh up whether I've got enough to do a row of chain stitch there. I think I have. Chain stitch uses quite a lot of thread. Looks like we're all right, doesn't it? There we go. As usual, more by luck than judgment. So let's take that down, let's have a look at it. I've decided to keep going with a fine silk. So this thread, if we compare it with the cotton perle, this is the fine silk that I sell in my shop. So you can see again about half as thick. It's half the thickness of my silk pearl 12. So if you ever run out of silk pearl 12, you can use fine silk doubled, because that would be the same thickness. So I'm just going to fill in this other row of chain stitch under here, and I've started at this end because I want to end up here to do something in this section here. So if you kind of think ahead to where you want to end up, that will tell you where to start. Right, so I've just finished that row of chain stitch and I've brought the needle back up here, and I was going to do running stitch in here, but I think what I might do, little change of plan, because we can, because we're making it up, I might just do a little detached chain stitch there. Let's see how effective that is. I'm just doing another run of detached chain in this one as well. We're really stretching the thread today, aren't we? I'm right at the end again. But again, that's probably just enough. So we can take that to the other side and just finish that off somewhere. Bury it down here, I think. Right, nearly done. I've decided to do a third one here because that, to me, that looks odd. It looks as if we need another something similar there. And then I think finally I might just do one here. And I think I'm going to call it done. You could, if you wanted to, do a running stitch in this one as well. I'm kind of tempted. But sometimes it's difficult to know whether something is finished or not, whether an empty space looks unfinished or whether an empty space looks deliberate. And really, you decide. Because it's up to you. It's your stitching, it's entirely up to you. I think I'm going to leave it blank because I quite like the space in it. So there we go, done. That's one of the things that you can do with a thicker thread. If your fabric is too tightly woven to be able to stitch with it comfortably, then you can lay it on the surface like that and couch it. And you could of course couch any shape you like, so you could do it as a spiral, or you could do a simple kind of animal outline, something like that. You know, any kind of simple outline would be really easy to couch, and you can add some you know, details with a thinner thread. You could do a triangular spiral or a square spiral. You know, once you start, the possibilities really are endless. Anyway, there we go, that's the 29th, so we've got the 30th and the 31st, and then January will be done. How good is that? So I will see you next week, but the next 2 days of January, enjoy your stitching and have lots of fun.